Good evening, dear Medyascope viewers. Welcome to This Week in Turkey. We would like to first of all wish all our viewers a very happy and healthy 2021. Unfortunately, we begin the first bulletin of the new year with news of 3 femicides in the last week of 2020 in 3 different provinces in Turkey. On December 29th, Aylin Sözer was murdered by Kemalay Yıldız at her residence in the Maltepe district of Istanbul. Selda Taş from Malatya and Vesile Dönmez from Gaziantep also lost their lives to femicides. The killings of the 3 women caused significant public outrage both on social media and on the streets. Amid rising violence against women in the country, the women of Turkey gathered on the streets to once again demand the implementation of the Istanbul Convention.
Aylin Sözer was the head of Istanbul Aydın University's Department of Preschool Education. The 48-year-old academic was first slit by her throat and then was burned by Kemalay Yıldız, who claims that their acquaintance was through a relationship. Ay Yıldız was found in Sözer's residence by police after they were notified by the neighbors of the fire that broke out in Sözer's apartment. He was taken into custody by the police who arrived at the crime scene and was sent to prison after appearing in front of the court. After Ay Yıldız's investigation was completed at the homicide department, further details related to the femicide have been brought to light. After the murderer Kemalay Yıldız committed the homicide, he attempted to transfer money from the victim's phone. While he was trying to send 260,000 Turkish liras to his brother from Sözer's bank account, the bank rejected the transaction, viewing it as a suspicious action. During the crime scene investigation, there was 3 grams of methamphetamine detected on the murderer. While setting Aylin Sözer's dead body on fire, the murderer Ay Yıldız used the blowtorch that he carries to heat up the meth. Ay Yıldız held Sözer captive in her own home for 2 days before killing her, and during that time, he sent text messages to Sözer's sister and her assistant with her phone. On the same day, another woman named Selda Taş was murdered by her husband in the city of Malatya. Her husband and her murderer Mehmet Taş, who holds a large number of criminal records, shot Selda Taş with a gun. During the same day, another woman, this time from the city of Gaziantep, lost her life as a victim to femicide. Vesile Dönmez was killed by her son Uğur Dönmez with a shotgun from her head after taking his mother hostage for a couple hours. 32-year-old Uğur Dönmez was diagnosed with schizophrenia and had not been taking his medicine for the last couple weeks, according to his father and Vesile Dönmez's husband Bahattin Dönmez. More than 382 women have been killed in cases reported as femicide in 2020, according to the We Will Stop Femicides platform, a rights group that monitors violence against women. Elif Bulut, People's Democratic Party co-chair of Istanbul, spoke to Medyascope during the gathering of women to mourn the rising cases of femicide and impunity of murders. When we say the Istanbul Convention keeps us alive, we don't say just for the sake of conversation. It actually keeps us alive. If the Istanbul Convention were to be implemented in this country as law, today we wouldn't have to gather here for these 3 women who were murdered brutally. We are not made up of numbers. We are being murdered on the streets by the people we know of. These men take courage from impunity.
This evening our guest is Melek Önder. Melek Önder is a spokesperson for the We Will Stop Femicides platform, a women's advocacy platform.
Good evening, Mrs. Önder. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening.
So this week has been a hard week as the count of femicides was very, very high. Can you share with us the data that your platform has gathered this year in relation to femicides and the suspicious deaths of women across Turkey? While there is a growing awareness of femicide crisis in Turkey among the people and the Istanbul Convention has been reported on widely, what may be some of the reasons that such barbaric murders are still taking place so often?
Yes, as you mentioned, in this year we saw the increasing number of the women's femicides, and also we are seeing that we will actually explain our data of the year 2020, but we have not released yet our data, but we are seeing that there was a 277 femicide and also 162 suspicious death of women until the end of the November. And also we are seeing that very huge number of women still got killed in Turkey. And also we know that in end of the year, we saw that in one day, only in just one day, 4 women were killed in Turkey. And also it's caused a very big anger in the public and also among the women. And also we saw that our friends brutally killed Aylin Sözer, lastly killed very brutally. And also Selda Taş was also killed by a gun in front of his children. And also Betül Tuğluk and also Vesile Dönmez were killed also. And we are now seeing that in this year we saw that the government and also some part of this society has attacked the Istanbul Convention. Also, they are trying to withdrawing from the Istanbul Convention. But during this period, we saw that the Pınar Gültekin's brutal killing, and also it caused a very huge, crowded protest among the Turkey. And after that, we see that the government has to take a step back forward about the Istanbul Convention withdrawal. But now we are saying that it's not enough to taking step back, but we need to Istanbul Convention fully and effectively implementation of the Istanbul Convention and protection law. So because we are knowing that it's not very easy to stop in a one day. But we are knowing that if you are showing a political will, and also if the politicians saying that we will not show any tolerance against the violence against women, we are knowing that the number will decrease, and also we will end this. Because as you mentioned, every year we are showing that the femicide number is increasing in Turkey. In only 1 year that we are seeing that the femicide number is decreasing in Turkey, because the Istanbul Convention opening up to signature. So we are showing that the political, effectively political will show us that it is possible to stopping the femicide, because we are knowing that they are not such a disasters. It can be prevented by the Istanbul Convention and with implementation of the protection law. So every day, every year, with killing of our women friends, and always we are saying that it is really important to implementation of the Istanbul Convention, because we are knowing that the Istanbul Convention saying that first you have to prevent femicide and violence against women, and also bringing very seriously and also very important mechanisms to protecting the women. And also, of course, we are every day we are following the cases and trying to bring the justice for women. And also we are knowing that empowering the woman is very important, such as economically, politically, socially. And also we are knowing that women in Turkey are changing now. So they are trying to getting their modern rights. They are trying to getting their divorce right, and also breaking up. They are trying to get their education rights, and also they are trying to get their working rights. And also because of they are demanding more and more rights as men, they are become a part of the subjected to violence. And also because there is a clash between the patriarchy and changing women. And also because of this reason, unfortunately, we are knowing that every day in Turkey killed by a man. So, and also another important point of this, if the government not implement the Istanbul Convention, and if they are trying to not making some giving some punishments about the perpetrators, because of this reason, the man also gets some courage from this behavior. So because we are knowing that men are saying that I can do whatever I want, and also nothing will happen to me. So we can see this courage, and also we have to prevent this courage with our laws, because we have the very important convention and also protection law. So if we are seeing the fully and effectively implementation of this convention, Istanbul Convention and protection law, we will see the decreasing of the femicide and violence against women.
Yeah. Thank you, Mrs. Önder, for that. I'd just like to repeat the numbers that you said at the beginning, that the number of femicides that the We Will Stop Femicides platform has gathered until the end of the November was 277 femicides and 162 suspicious deaths.
Yes.
And because these numbers are so high, yes, the government has taken a step back in perpetrating a discourse where they are stating over and over again that they want to withdraw from the Istanbul Conventions, but they haven't actually done anything to implement the Istanbul Convention,
Yes.
even though they're not necessarily talking about withdrawing from it anymore. And some of the reasons also that you have cited for these barbaric kind of acts of violence towards women have a lot to do with the fact that women in Turkey are changing, and this change is clashing with the patriarchal kind of structure of the society, and because the Istanbul Convention is not implemented, there's no punishment, and this gives courage to perpetrators to go ahead with that. Now, there's a new law that was ratified on Sunday. The government is actually going to increase its control over civil society groups. This law will allow them to replace NGO executives who are prosecuted on terrorism charges. They will be able to halt the activities of NGOs and regularly inspect them. And considering how freely terrorism charges are used in Turkey in order to prosecute opposing voices, how do you think this law will impact the women's movement in Turkey?
I think it's not gonna be any important effect of the women's movement in Turkey, because as we see that in last 10 years we are starting our struggle against stopping femicide, and also our platform name is We Will Stop Femicide platform, and also we are trying to everyday fighting against the femicide subjects, against women, any kind of the violence, and also we are knowing that every historical moment and every society find another way to making some kind of struggles against these kind of pressures. In Turkey, the femicide, violence against women, will continue. Of course, the women always trying to making their protest and also continue their struggle. So we will find other ways if they are trying to close. But I think it's very hard for the government to closing or trying to send somebody executors to our platform or any kind of women's platforms, because they are knowing that the femicide issue and violence against women in Turkey is a very important topic. And also everybody in Turkey, we are now showing that according to research, we are showing that everybody has a consciousness and trying to making something really importantly fighting against it. So I think as we see in the Istanbul Convention, they are trying to opening up to withdrawing debates about the Istanbul Convention, but after the very big protests and very big angry, they have to take a step back. So it's not very easy to make a important pressure on the women movement in Turkey, as in other world kind of as in other part of the world. As we are seeing in these Corona days, many thousands of women being together in the Argentina, and also they are fighting for their rights of the abortion, and they are gaining this their rights. So these kind of movements also affect each of us, and also we are knowing that Turkey also affect Argentina affect the other kind of part of the world. So we are knowing that women movements in Turkey are very strong. And also, according to Istanbul Convention, it's the convention saying that you have to work with the women's organization, you have to work with and also empower this women's organization. Not even though the closing or making pressure on this organization, but it's also saying that, and also it's a part of our law. And also you have to empowering this organization, not making pressure or affecting their decisions, etc. But as I mentioned before, it's not very easy to make some pressure on women's rights and also women movements in Turkey, because we are knowing that the ministries did not making their responsibilities for the femicide. The women movements organizations get this responsibility and trying to decrease the femicide. We are doing whatever we can do. So they are only making some speeches about after, for instance, they are making some speech after the Aylin Sözer, and they are saying that we are sorry and we will follow the cases. But the ministry is not, it's not enough, we are knowing. It's not enough, and also we have to show the very concrete steps for the stopping it. And also, of course, you have to follow these cases. They are very important and beautiful killing of women. But your responsibility is the stopping, preventing this kind of brutal killing of women, preventing the femicide and violence against women. So we have that if they are not making their responsibility, doing their responsibility, the women organizations, women movements against the femicide is doing this job in Turkey. So it's not easy to closing this kind of organizations or making pressure on it. Because of this reason, their job is to responsibility is to empowering the organizations, not closing our ways.
Yeah. Considering, yes, as you mentioned, that you are basically doing the job that the government is supposed to do in order to protect,
Yes.
in order to keep records and collect data regarding femicides and suspicious deaths of women across the country. A couple of months ago, Ms. Önder, you joined us on This Week in Turkey. I think it was in the month of June, and we spoke about how the ways in which the pandemic especially has affected violence against women, considering now that, considering the measures of the confinement and so forth. So now a couple of months onwards, what are perhaps some of the urgent preventative measures that your platform recommends to first of all, reach a more gender equal society and, prevent violence against women in these pandemic times that are ongoing?
Yes, we can say that all kind of the digital platform must be used, like CADES, and also it's very important because in one button you can achieve the police and also call an call them. There's an emergency situation, and also if you are at home and you have to stay with the man who showed the violence. So you have shared this kind of a pressure or traits with your friends, and also you can make a plan if there's something happened or some important trait occurred, and also you can share a parola with your friends. And also if not, we are knowing that it's not easy to calling police or calling someone to get here to for the help, but you can make a parola and also share with your friends, and with this parola you can tell this parola, and your friends also call the police or the other part of the institutions. So it will help you to achieve this kind of the emergent help. And also, as we are lastly, we are mentioned many important articles for those effective solutions in order for the Istanbul Convention and also protection law implemented in Turkey. They are very we have need very emergent solutions for this issue. So, for instance, as we mentioned before, protection law will be applied effectively, and also and sanctions will be deterrent for law enforcement units that do not apply, and also violence prevention centers and shelters will reach sufficient numbers. As we know that lastly the Interior Minister Soylu making a speech and saying that it is a very low number in Turkey, and also he also become a surprise because of this number. So we are knowing that you don't have to be surprised. It's your power. You have your power and you have your responsibility, and also you have all power to change everything in Turkey for women. So you can increase the number of the shelters in Turkey. And also divorce process is very important and must be facilitated. If there is violence, reconciliation will not be suggested. So equal and secure participation of women in business life will be ensured. Impunity will end in crimes against women and justice will be provided. An investigation process will be carried out thoroughly in suspicious female days. The truth will be revealed. And also, as it is the first day of the 2021, and in this day we are solving that Feyzanur, name of our friends, we are solving that a suspicious death of women. We are opening up our eyes and we are seeing a suspicious death of a woman in the new year. So we are solving that every day, not the new year or the Bayram or any kind of celebrations, not prevent this kind of femicide or violence issues in Turkey. So we have to immediately need this implementation of this kind of mechanisms, and also we need the telephone lines as soon as possible, because in addition to digital platform, these phone numbers also will be formed, and also these hotlines will be very useful because there is only one line, and also it's not just for women, so it's not enough for women. So we need much more this kind of mechanisms, and also we have to see that not only sending some kind of rights or to officers. It's important the implementation of the Istanbul Convention and the protection law. So the government has had to take this responsibility and saying that in Corona days and in other days, in normal days, normalization days, the states stand behind the woman, not the perpetrators or other kind of, not giving some courage to patriarchal behavior. So with this way only we are seeing that with these mechanisms, with these prevention methods, we will see that the number of femicide and violence issues will be decreased in Turkey. So every day, in just one day, we will see that 4 women were killed by men. So of course we are continuing our struggles, and we are always saying that we will stop the femicide. So we will, with the starting of the new year, we are calling all women to join our struggle and also making our power more and more. So we will fighting against this femicide and the violence against women. So we will create an equality and free living in Turkey for women. And we will believe and we will struggle for it.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Önder. Yes, the laws are there. They need to be implemented. And I think 2021 will give a renewed energy to the women's movement in Turkey, which is already so remarkable, to fight to make sure that they will be implemented this year. Thank you so much for having joined us this evening, Melek Önder. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next on our bulletin are the coronavirus-related developments of the week. According to the data provided by the Ministry of Health, as of December 31st, the death toll from the coronavirus in Turkey has reached 20,642. and the total number of cases is 2,194,272. Turkish airline now requires from all passengers traveling to Turkey to present negative PCR test results before boarding. The tests must have been conducted in the 72 hours prior to the flight. Passengers under the age of 6 are not required to present test results. The shipment of 3 million doses of the CoronaVac vaccine developed by the Chinese company Sinovac has been delivered to the Health Ministry on December 30th. Vaccinations will start following 14 days of tests.
The plane carrying our vaccines reached Esenboğa Airport. The 14-day testing of the vaccines will start immediately at Turkey Medicine and Medical Devices Institution, Health Minister Fahrettin Koca said on Twitter. The vaccine will be administered in 2 doses, 29 days apart. Turkey plans first doses for health workers and those older than 65, the ministry has said, followed by those older than 50 and suffering at least one chronic illness, in addition to those in specific sectors or high-risk environments. The third group will include young adults and sectors not included in prior groups. A fourth group covers all the rest not listed. Koca further stated that authorities are planning to administer vaccines at family health centers, public, private and university hospitals. Koca provided the following information regarding the process. The vaccines will be distributed to provincial warehouses with specially designed ministry vehicles that have climatization features. He added that authorities would digitally monitor how the vaccines are transported, administered and recorded, adding that the vaccine distribution and application results would also be shared live in real time. Vaccinations will not be mandatory for now, and Turkey aims to convince the public about the necessity of vaccination against the coronavirus, making mass vaccination possible. Turkey has agreed to purchase 50 million doses of Sinovac's CoronaVac. Separately, Turkey has agreed with Pfizer and BioNTech to supply 4.5 million doses of their vaccine, while working to develop its own. Turkey also aims to produce Russia's Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccine domestically.
On December 29th, the Turkish Constitutional Court rejected an appeal for the release of philanthropist and businessman Osman Kavala. The ruling concluded that his over 3-year imprisonment without conviction did not violate his rights, in contrary to the rulings by the European Court of Human Rights.
Osman Kavala's imprisonment has been among Turkey's high-profile trials. Kavala is facing espionage-related charges. He was first imprisoned in November 2017 for financing anti-government Gezi protests of 2013. This past February, he was acquitted of those charges, but he was immediately rearrested under a different accusation of aiding to overthrow the government in the 2016 coup attempt. He has rejected all the charges and stated that all accusations lack evidence. The European Court of Human Rights has called for his release in 2019 and stated that Kavala's detention is aimed to silence him and is politically motivated. But the ruling has not been implemented, as has often been the case with Turkey's response to ECHR rulings. Earlier this year, Kavala's defense team applied to the Constitutional Court with the accusation that his continued detention violated his human rights. But the General Assembly of the Constitutional Court ruled with 8 votes against 7 that it did not amount to a rights violation. This Constitutional Court hearing came the day after President Erdogan repeated his calls to implement democratic and economic reforms in the country. As a result of the top Turkish court's rejection of Kavala's appeal for release, his detention has been extended until his next hearing, which is scheduled for February 5, 2021.
Olay TV, a television channel which began broadcast on November 30th, was pulled off the air last Friday, 26 days after its initial launch. It has been alleged that the reason for the shutdown was due to government pressure.
Olay TV, which is owned by Turkish businessman and former right-wing minister Cavit Çağlar, stood out in the country's media landscape by not being pro-government or being owned by companies affiliated with the government. The channel was criticized by governmental circles for broadcasting the weekly parliamentary meeting of the pro-Kurdish People's Democratic Party in full, something all other channels have been avoiding for years. According to independent lawmaker and investigative journalist Ahmet Şık, Çağlar is alleged to have told the channel's manager that he could not withstand mounting government pressure over Olay TV's critical editorial line. Şık tweeted that the government wanted Çağlar to appoint pro-government journalists to executive positions and fire a number of people. Çağlar was threatened that his companies and assets would be confiscated by the Savings Deposit Insurance Fund if he failed to meet the requests. The channel's staff included several renowned journalists, including Süleyman Sarılar as the editor-in-chief and Nevşin Mengü as a news presenter. In a media environment where all the larger media groups are pro-government with their financial ties to Ankara, the motto of Olay TV was bringing journalism back to its factory settings. The channel's closure was announced during the Prime News Bulletin on December 25th by editor-in-chief Sarılar. Sarılar said that their intention was to do impartial reporting in a polarized environment. In a country politically polarized to this extent, the media was also polarized. One group was supporting the government, another was opposing. The truth was a bit lost, he said. He added that they managed to bring together politicians from all parties and stood at equal distance to every group. Turkey is among the world's worst countries for jailing journalists, ranked 154 out of 180 countries ranked by media watchdog Reporters Without Borders. Associate Professor Ceren Sözeri from the Department of Communication at Galatasaray University spoke to Medyascope regarding Olay TV's closure and freedom of expression in Turkey. According to Sözeri, this event shows us how difficult it has become to do broadcast television in Turkey. The broadcasting world is under a lot of pressure, and this is an important example demonstrating just that. I remember the discussions when the channel was first being established, and I didn't think it would come to life. 26 days is not a long time, but they held on tight. Of course, the situation of the journalists out of a job now is very saddening because they were very excited to be a part of the Olay TV team. In a very short time, this excitement turned into disappointment. Many things have been said about the reasons as to why the channel was shut down. Both its launch and shutdown have been plagued by speculative claims. We know Cavit Çağlar as a figure from the 90s. He also established the channel NTV. This shutdown of Olay TV shows that it is not possible to do television broadcasting in the same way as in the 90s. The political pressure on private television broadcasting can clearly be seen, as Çağlar himself says so. It is literally impossible to be a mainstream channel these days.
The Turkish Parliamentary Justice Commission passed a bill drafted by the ruling Justice and Development Party on preventing the spread and financing of weapons of mass destruction. The bill has articles relating to restricting the activities of non-governmental organizations in Turkey if it is passed into law. Many worry that this may lead to possible restrictions for civil society actions in Turkey.
The bill regulates that the Ministry of Interior will be able to suspend individuals who have been subjected to investigation for terror-related crimes from office or suspend the activities of the association altogether. The bill also introduces that those previously convicted of terror-related crimes cannot take up executive duties in associations even after their sentences have been served. If this bill is enacted, the individuals who have been convicted of anti-terror law crimes will no longer be able to become executives of associations. Given that a majority of human rights associations executives in Turkey are being subjected to court cases based on groundless charges, and considering the issue of uncertainty of the terror crimes in Turkey, the question of how many NGOs will this law target is cause for major concern for the opposition in Turkey.
After securing a new trade deal with the EU, the United Kingdom signed its first free trade agreement for the post-Brexit period with Turkey. The agreement is set to take effect today, January 1st.
The agreement signed by both trade ministers on Tuesday in a video conference call ensures that the existing flow of goods will not be affected when the UK formally leaves the EU at the end of the year. According to Trade Minister Rusar Pekcan, the trade volume between the two countries hit 15 billion in January-November. In 2019, Turkey's exports to the UK stood at $11.3 billion, while imports totaled $5.6 billion. The UK's investment in Turkey are around $11.6 billion, Pekcan said. The UK is Turkey's second biggest export market, mostly for precious metals, vehicles, textiles, and electrical equipment. The accord also commits both countries to discussions aimed at expanding the scope of the agreement to include services and agriculture within the next 2 years.
That's all from This Week in Turkey. See you next Friday at 9 p.m. Good night.